Hey family, welcome to Limitless Conversations. I'm Judge Lauren Lake. I am here today with a limitless lady, Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. I am so happy that we finally made time to have this conversation.
It is so, perfect timing.
Isn't
I can't
it?
say it's like overdue,
Yes.
but I do want to say that our conversations that we have privately
Yes.
with each other are so deep. They're so needed in our community and just in every community.
Yes.
And I'm excited to cover it. I'm excited to show, just our sisterhood and how deeply we really feel for a community of people who deserve better. And I always say it's not just a Black right, but it's a human right.
Yes, it is.
For folks to have a great quality of life
Yes.
and mental health.
A right and a responsibility.
Come on.
Which is what we're also going to talk about, right?
Yep.
This is a limitless conversations. We're taking the limits off of what we discuss.
Yep.
We're going there, so get ready. And I think both of us in our lives, in our careers, in our work, and even through television,
Absolutely.
have been able to do something that many can't, which is tell people what they need to hear, which is not necessarily always what they want to hear, right? But they know it comes from a place of love.
And that's it. It's a gift to be able to give somebody what they need.
Yes.
That they don't want to hear, that they've been avoiding for so long and usually their entire life, wrapped up in love and compassion from a place of non-judgment and a safe space.
Yes.
Where you completely disarm them and they are wide open to receive.
Yes.
And that is where the desire to really shift and change, I believe, comes in from people when they say, listen, wait a minute, like I've heard this and I've been resistant to this, but I'm hearing the same thing, but I'm receiving it differently.
Yes.
And that's what I've seen you be able to have the gift of doing over and over again for what, 20, 30 plus years?
Yes,
on TV?
Lord. Now you're telling my age,
Girl.
but I'll go on and tell it. Okay, I'm out here 55, honey. And yes, I've been doing this a long time,
Yeah.
but I recognize, right, as I've watched you work and watched some of the shows, the projects you've worked on, and the way in which you handle the people you're talking with, right? Treating them like family, almost letting them know, listen, this is going to be a safe space, but I'm not a yes person for you. And because that really isn't love, right? Love is often bringing you out, right, of your comfortability. And what I learned from many, many years as judge of paternity court and also we the people is that we can get comfortable in our dysfunction. Right?
Absolutely.
So it feels like it's comfortable. It feels like we're cozy, but really we're stuck in dysfunction when we know the other side of that, the evolution out of that, the healing out of that is the hard work, but the necessary work.
I love that. And so many people I find with my clients and being in my field for 17 years, they're in this dysfunctional norm that has become so familiar that they've learned to survive in it. And they have this mistake of thinking that they're thriving in the dysfunctional norm.
Yes.
And in their mind, Nick Cannon said it best on our session. He said, but doc, it's working for me. No. See, you think it's working for you because that's all you know. And if that's all you know in your mind, that is the best that's available.
Right.
But when someone comes in and shifts your perception, because that's all I do as a psychology expert and life coach, is I'm shifting their perception to show them something different that is totally unfamiliar to them. And once, I always say, when someone is in a place of survival or depression or a mental health crisis, the lights are off.
Yes.
Whenever you turn the lights on means you have to take inventory of what's in that room.
That's right.
And that room being your world, your life, and your dysfunctional norms, you have to take inventory.
You do.
And once you're taking inventory, most people are afraid of what they're going to see, so they stay in the dark.
Okay.
That's a voluntarily place that they want to be in because they're afraid of, what am I going to see when I turn these lights on?
Yes.
And the inventory place is where the healing starts.
That's
and
it.
until you see what you got going on in your inventory with the lights on, you can't heal a lie. So until you see the truth,
You
we
can't
ain't healing
heal
anything.
a lie.
You cannot heal a
now
lie.
that's a word. You can't heal a lie, right?
Yeah.
And I think that at the end of the day is what these limitless conversations need to be about. It's about taking the limitations off, of our mind, of our hearts, right? Of the darkness, right? The boundaries that we've set that keep us within the darkness, right? You know, we big about setting the boundary now, because I got to set my boundary. And it's interesting to me because, you know, as I hear people testify in my courtroom or I help people and talk with people through their situations, sometimes you setting a boundary really that's keeping you in. You fencing yourself in. You're not really setting a boundary that allows you to get out. So today I want to talk about 3 subjects. And look, we could talk on, it could really be limitless.
Right.
Okay, we were on the phone the other day just like, going. Right. And I love that because, you know, you bring so much perspective. And listen, through hearing people's stories, and for me, through hearing people's testimonies, you begin to understand, right, how deeply rooted some of these things are. And I'm not a psychologist. I'm, of course, a lawyer. You are the psychologist, the psychology expert. And those of you that don't know, I mean, she's been viral of late. I mean, with Cam Newton, her conversation with him, with Nick Cannon, and you also would remember her from Teen Mom.
Teen Mom, Family Reunion.
Family Reunion. Yes. And so it's amazing how much synergy we have. Like even with Teen Mom and me working with paternity and young women and their self-esteem, right? And then also dealing with men, right? And having to walk them through some spaces that a lot of times people don't walk them through, right? And I've often had to do that on paternity court where you have to kind of own up to your part in something. So I want to talk about a few subjects today and just really get your insight and be in conversation about this. The first one I want to talk about are the daddy issues, right? And listen, because I mean, you go there. I heard you in your conversation with Nick. I heard you in your conversation with Cam, that you really delve deeply into the root of some of our dysfunction. And often it is through the daddy issue. Now, you know, I see that all the time as judge of paternity court and we the people, where people get themselves in these legal sagas that they can't get themselves out of, or they begin to perpetuate a generational curse that they cannot seem to break. And often it's connected to a daddy issue. Can you talk 100%. A little bit about that, Dr. Bryant?
I love the generational curse thing. It is a transgenerational pathology, a dysfunctional pattern that continues from generation to generation to generation. What daddy issues looks like on a woman is different from a man. And so I always say, right, a woman is what her daddy makes her.
Ooh.
And a man is what his mama makes him. However, if a man is fatherless, and he associates his father to being deadbeat, to being a loser, to being an abandoner, to being a neglectful person, to being a lowlife, every time that man, regardless of his race, looks in that mirror and sees a man being himself, he also identifies himself with those same associations. And so what happens is, as he creates this narrative around how I view my fatherless father, he also becomes that through his self-fulfilling prophecy. And why it is so deeply rooted is he also creates, because we can teach what we know, but we create who we are. So he starts to create.
Oh, wait, hold on now. Let me catch that. We can
teach what we know.
What we know.
But we create who we are.
But we create who we are. Yes.
Right.
And you know what's so interesting? Because I often said on the bench, and I would always say this, that you can be the father you never had, or you can be the father you never had.
I love that.
Same sentence, 2 very different meanings, right? But exactly what you're saying, right? And that you can either get in there and do all the things you didn't have, or you can get in there and perpetuate the dysfunction, the fatherlessness that you lived through and experienced. And I think a part of these conversations, what I think is so important, is to really talk to people about how to get unstuck from these things, right? Because listen, we all have some type of daddy issue. You and I connected on this. Now, you know, I was telling you I created a whole new YouTube series called Paternity Matters, right? About my daddy, and we both lost our dads last year.
We did.
And so much synergy. And one of the issues I deal with is if people don't treat me and love me like my daddy or be excited about me like my daddy, then I'm like,
a problem.
Well, hold on now.
It's a problem.
You know, I'll be in a relationship and somebody walk in and it's like, well, don't you see me? Because my daddy would have done a full-on cry, baby. You hear, and when you're not getting that in your relationship, that's a daddy issue in and of itself. No one is exempt.
Absolutely, right? I agree. Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah, my father was a father who was after my heart. My dad doted on me. He gassed me up.
Yes.
You know, he would always say, "You're the Kobe Bryant and the LeBron James of these women." And I would just say, "Daddy, you know, you think that because you're my daddy." No, you are. And so, you know, a father who was just in love with me in the most healthiest way a father could be in love with his daughter, who would call me multiple times, ask me where I'm at, tell me I'm not wearing this outfit because it's too much cleavage. I was 38, Judge, having a birthday party, and I had a pool party, and all of my girlfriends, it was pretty much mostly women, had put their bikinis on to get in the pool, and I went to put mine on, and at 38, my father made sure he let me know, as long as I'm here, no bikinis will be worn. If you put that bikini on, I'm leaving. Now, what I wanted to say to him was, Daddy, it's already 12 a.m. You should have been gone.
Right.
But I wasn't going to say that to my father. So I jumped in my pool with my full dress on to respect my father.
Listen.
While everyone else had a thong bikini, a regular bathing suit. I mean, but we still had a good time. And he stood there over the pool like this bodyguard just watching everyone.
Because he don't care what everybody else is doing. It's about his daughter.
It's about his baby. And my girlfriends will always say, you know, he treats you like he's your man. But damn, we wish we had a father like that.
Yeah.
And you're right, because as I went through my dating experience, I was engaged twice, called off 2 weddings. I tend to pick men who have the qualities in my father that I admired, meaning they doted on me and they loved me and they catered to me and they worshiped the ground I walked on. But I didn't choose the qualities in my father that I didn't like, which is, although he was an amazing father, he has 6 of us by 5 different women.
Okay.
That is something that I always loved, that we have a big family, but I didn't like that we were a blended family.
Yes.
And that it was all these broken homes that he did create. And for me, I would express that to him openly. And what I loved most, Judge, and I'm going to wrap up on this, is my dad was so authentic and so loving. He would say, baby, I am an amazing father, but not all great fathers make good husbands. He said, I'm a great father, but I am not a good man in a relationship with the woman. And if you see a man or meet a man who looks like me, smells like me, acts like me, you better not bring him home and you better not date him. But I love him because my father didn't just show me how a man should treat me through how he treated me. He also told me what not to do in a man. And so he kept it real. He was a matter-of-fact man. And I love that because I led with that. I led with, listen, I respect all men because there are so many beautiful, amazing men who already have kids, right? But I don't want that for myself.
Yes.
And it was at the result of my father being a real father to say, even if I got to expose myself to have you make the right decisions, that's what I'm going to do. Because that's a father.
That's it. That is. And paternity matters, right?
Paternity matters.
Perfection really doesn't. Paternity matters.
Yes.
Perfection does not. And an imperfect man can be an incredible father.
Yes.
I mean, we all are imperfect. My father as well. But what he was able to instill in me was so powerful. And that's one of the things why I became so passionate about my work, because I said to myself, if I can help people discover who their fathers are, and if perhaps at their high school graduation, their dad is sitting there, or at their father-daughter dance, they can be there with their dad. If I can do that, then I'm leaving something in this world,
That's
a legacy.
legacy.
Legacy, right? I'm trying to do God's work. It's almost like a little mini ministry.
It is. It is.
And, right. And I take this mini ministry very seriously. So if someone is dealing with daddy issues, can you talk about maybe coping strategies?
Absolutely.
And how they can begin to evolve out of that?
100%.
In my work, I'm always trying to resolve the legal things,
Aspect
right?
of it. Mm-hmm.
Know who your father is, get those paternity results, get your father's name on that birth certificate, or get yourself on that birth certificate, right? Get that child support worked out. Okay, don't have that up in the air. Quit running back and forth in court. Because I always say, spiritual evolution comes after legal resolution. So legal resolution can lead to the emotional and spiritual evolution, because while you still stuck arguing about this child support, this visitation, this divorce, this, that, you're not evolving out of that.
Come on now. Yeah.
Right? So how can people cope? What are some strategies they can begin to employ? And how do we get out of something that we may not have even caused?
I love that. The first thing is the awareness, right, of identifying that, hey, I'm a fatherless daughter or a fatherless son. And then identifying how has that impacted you? How do you see yourself? What do you associate yourself to? Is there shame? A lot of people who are fatherless folks, they have a lot of shame. And,
Yeah.
shame and guilt is different. Shame is I'm a bad person.
Yes.
Guilt is I feel bad about what I did. And when I tell you I have yet to meet a person, male or female, who hasn't felt shame about their father not being there, meaning they feel like they're not valuable, they're not good enough, they're not lovable. Because if the first person who was supposed to not drop me, that was supposed to cover me, protect me, have my back and be there, dropped me, didn't want me, then that must mean that I am a bad person,
Yes.
that I'm not worthy.
That's it.
And so unworthy people make unworthy decisions, and they create unworthy circumstances, environments, and relationships. And so
Yes.
the first thing to do is identify with, hold on, how am I affected by this? The second thing is to do is, how am I projecting how I'm affected on everyone around me?
Yes.
And let me have a conversation with these people that I really love and say, listen, I'm doing some work on myself. I want to be different. I want to be
Yes.
better. How do you experience me when it comes to how I show up
Yes.
as a person, right? Give me some of those experiences, because I will tell you this for sure. We're all little projectors. We're all little projectors. We can't see past ourselves.
Yeah.
And so we are giving people who we are every single time we experience them. And if all I have is pain, all I can give you is pain.
Yes.
And if you know that, that helps you have compassion for me.
Yes.
So that we're not at war.
You can't give what you don't have, right?
all.
But we also have to be smart enough to know when someone can't give us
Yes.
what they don't have. And
That's
stop
it.
standing there at the well thinking some water gonna come out.
I love that.
When they already said, or you've already known.
It's a dry well.
It's a dry
It's a dry well, baby. It's a dry well.
It's a dry
and
well.
I love that, because I say folks can't love us past how much we love ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, if it's you and I, even say in our sister friendship, and you just love me at a 100.
Yes.
But I only love myself at 60.
Yes.
And I keep, you keep telling me like, Doc, like, I love our friendship,
Yes.
girl. I love you, but you don't seem to be receiving it. And I
Yes.
come to you and I say, look, Judge, I feel you love me. I'm encompassed and I'm dwelling in it, but I'm only loving myself at 60 and you're at 100%.
Yeah.
So it's not that you aren't loving me adequately. It's I'm having a love deficit within myself.
That's it.
And when people have that understanding, at that point, you can do one or two things. You can have compassion and just keep loving on me and
Yes.
facilitate me through that. Or you can say, all right, look, sis, let me help you love yourself to where your cup is runneth over.
Yes.
And that you are filled up and topped off. Because when somebody has these daddy issues, right, these paternity issues, they don't feel lovable.
That's right.
And so they are operating, I always say, from an empty cup. This is the cup, it's empty at the bottom.
Yes.
And this is what a pain pocket looks like.
That's it.
And until you heal this pain pocket, everything somebody pours into you
Is filtered through that.
it goes through the bottom. So
Yes.
this is why you feel empty. This is why you feel lonely in a room full of people who love you. This is why
Yes.
you feel lonely when you're married to a wonderful man or a wonderful husband, or your kids come to
Yes.
console you and love on you. And you're like, you're in my office saying, Doc, I still feel lonely and I have the most amazing life. I have the most amazing career, because you got pain pockets. You got a hole in your heart.
That's right.
And until we heal it, nothing caps off.
Nothing
caps
it
off.
doesn't matter. I always say to
Doesn't
people, it's
matter.
like your perspective, it's like the lenses through which you see the world.
Yes.
So if you're wearing your glasses and everything is filtered through pain, resentment, feelings of not being worthy, that's how it's being filtered. And you're not going to be able to do that. And I love those strategies for talking to a friend, maybe trying to identify, finding someone you trust to maybe talk to you about, what do you see in me? What is that?
yeah.
So that you can begin to identify those things. It is a lonely journey. You
really
have to do
is.
it for yourself.
It really is.
And it's a journey that you may have to take more than once.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's one of the things people feel often, that, okay, I done found myself and my life is going great and I'm good to go. Honey, and then life get to life in.
Oh, yeah.
And you back
Yeah.
again. I mean, truth be told, I was telling you the other day, I'm finding myself again, right?
love that.
After
I
my
love
father has passed, my brother passed last year within 4 months of one another. I lost my mother 17 years ago. But I'm literally now trying to figure out, okay, who is Lauren now
Hello.
without them here?
Hello.
I know who I am with them here.
Yeah.
And they constantly feed me, right? Just like you do. Oh, you did this fabulous. I love this. My daughter this. My sister this. You know what I mean? And you take it for granted. You don't realize until it's gone, like, wow, I really had a huge support
An
system.
amazing ecosystem.
You know, and now I'm out here. I remember just this past, Emmys, when We the People got nominated for an Emmy, and I was like, I'm so grateful that I have my son to go, or it just was so different when that announcement came out. My instinct was my daddy. You know what I mean? It were those things.
Yeah.
And I've had to re-identify, like, okay, Lauren, you're almost having to rebirth.
Come on.
In a way, right? That where you have to develop those things, those roots that keep you sturdy. You didn't realize how much you got from your family. And so I think...
Wait, and I love that. I got to touch on that because so
Please
many
do.
people at all ages are re-identifying this self-discovery of who am I outside of being a wife and a mom and a dad and issues and a career woman and all these. Who am I? And they go through this grieving period.
Yes.
And they don't understand why. But just like you and I have grieved our parents passing away, my father, grandmother, your mom and dad and brother, we grieve ourselves.
Yes.
We grieve ourselves.
Yes.
We grieve the parts of us that we lose, even the parts of us that we lose that we know no longer serve us. We grieve those parts. And I'm here to say that's a normalcy. Grieve yourself while you continue to create yourself.
You can grieve and create at the same time.
At the same time. And remember, whatever's not fruitful is going to deaden anyways. God to prune.
Yes.
And God says whatever can be shaken will be shaken, whatever can't won't. So as he shakes, because I tell him every morning, shake it, God, shake it. I don't want to shake it, get rid of it. And then, at first I used to say, shake it, and then go, oh my God. Now I'm like, shake it. What's up? Let's do it.
But that's that faith.
That's that faith, because I'm like, whatever's supposed to be shaken, can you shake it now before I go on tour? Can you shake it now before I go on this?
Shake me up now so I have time to get my bearings, get my balance.
And I want people to know that it's okay to grieve yourself while you're creating yourself. That is a normal part of the process. And I always say life is meant to be lived like this. It's a surrender mode. This is clench, which is fear. And when we live life like this, as the Bible says, feelings are fickle. We live life like this because emotions and feelings are supposed to be able to flow through us. We're supposed to feel our way through them. But watch what people do. Watch when pain comes through, people clench and get afraid. And whatever you hold on to, you get to experience. And as you hold on to this pain for 5 months and 2 years and 5 years and 10 years and resentment, and you can't forgive people, and you're in my office or they're in your courtroom saying, I just can't get past this depression. Baby, let go.
That's what you're holding on to.
Let go. It's what you're holding on to, and let it pass through.
This is so profound because that's exactly what it is. And I see it constantly, whether it's in paternity issues or family law issues, even the divorces, right? Where it's like, y'all not trying to get a divorce. Call me when you're trying to get a divorce. Because at this point, all we doing is billing hours. I'm just going to take all your money. Because you really don't want to. Y'all arguing about the fork. Y'all arguing about the vase. You really holding on. When you're ready to get a divorce, when you're ready to resolve a relationship, when you're ready to move on, you do that.
Yes.
When we in this thing for 2 and 3 years, back and forth, I mean, look, that's when even the money, it ain't worth how much they're getting on your nerves, right? Going back in that thing again. No, when you really ready to resolve something, when you're ready to come out, then you will let go.
You let go.
Let go. But so much of the holding on, I've realized, comes from childhood trauma, right? And we all have it in some form. No one is exempt from it.
And I want to go really quick opposite. Some of the self-sabotaging comes from the childhood issues.
But I want you to go
some people hold
there.
on too much, and some people just can't hold on to anything. And you have to know when to hold. You got to know when to fold, because if you're staying too long, it's because you're holding too long, because you're afraid. You have attachment anxiety. You're afraid to let go. You're afraid to be alone. You're afraid not to be connected or fused to somebody because when you were young, whoever it was that was with you abandoned you. So now abandonment is just an inflammation for you. And the folks who sabotage are saying, listen, I ain't never had nothing good. I've never experienced something healthy. And so even if this is unhealthy, but it's healthier than the dysfunction I had before, so it's a little less dysfunctional than the dysfunction I had.
Right.
Okay? Then when it gets really good and really healthy, I'm afraid that at some point you're going to leave me. So guess what? I'm going to bail out before you do. Because I'm trying to avoid
runner and a track
star. So I'm trying to avoid the heartbreak that I'm creating anyways. And so it doesn't serve me to leave you because I'm not avoiding a heartbreak that I'm creating. So that is a vicious cycle that goes reverse uno.
Right.
Reverse uno. You're doing it anyway.
That's it.
You're doing it anyway.
And with the childhood trauma, right, that can come from so many places, right? It can
many
come from
places.
within the home. It can come from outside of the home. It can come from divorce. It could come from abandonment issues,
Yes.
paternity secrets and issues. It could come from sexual abuse.
100%.
It could, there's so many ways that we can experience childhood trauma in our lives. How do we get the courage? How do we figure out how to dial back to those? Because I found that I'm even opening up new portals in my mind,
love
right?
that.
As part of this kind of rebirthing after my parents of like, what did I feel like as a child, right? Even down to, which people seem silly, but I live it through my son of being an intelligent person, right? And maybe being in environments when that wasn't what was cool.
Right.
You're always the outcast. People ask me all the time, well, why do you do this? Or how can you like to do this alone? And I'm like, I've been alone my whole life. I've been alone. Nobody wanted to be my friend. Nobody, but it's true. You start living things like I was in grade school.
I got this.
Yeah,
this
it was
is
like,
my
oh, that's
second
the
nature.
little smart girl. oh, Lord, here she comes. They used to call me Lauren Lemonhead. Yes, y'all know who you are. But no, really, these things start coming back to me, and I'm thinking to myself, look, back then, we didn't have all of these tools. We didn't know. It was, you know what? They want to fight you after school. Well, you better fight. You know what I mean? You better figure out, you better take that violin and handle your business because you got to walk home.
And then walk home.
Okay?
And then walk home.
Because you got to walk home. Ain't nobody coming to pick you up.
Ain't nobody coming to save
don't
you.
have that.
You got to carry your own cross.
And it's over a mile, okay? And so you better get it together. We didn't have all of those things, but now at 55 years old, I'm identifying and also reliving through my son as I watch him deal with certain social things. I go, yeah, Mommy dealt with that. I stuck it inside. I just held it in. I did what I needed to do. And yet, I found that it still does affect the way I manage
100%.
social circles, right? I always tell people, I've never been the popular person. Now, I'm very purposeful in what I do, but I was never the popular girl.
Well, we couldn't tell today. So,
but honey, won't God prepare the table? Honey, the table is prepared.
In front of?
Okay, my enemies, all right? Lauren Lemonhead is all right. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I truly want people to understand that inside of us is that child, right? And we can't let go of that child. We have to nurture them.
Yes.
We have to heal them,
that inner
right?
child.
And we have to listen to them.
Because if not, that inner child is what shows up in your adult relationships, and he or she sabotages that relationship. He or she starts to bring his trauma to that relationship, and he or she starts to do things to survive in that relationship, especially if that relationship is unfamiliar to your younger self, meaning healthy.
Yes.
That younger self will deteriorate, destroy, and destruct anything that's good, not because the younger you is a menace, but because the younger you is still in the wilderness. It's trying to survive. And I always say the wilderness precedes the promised land, but what precedes the wilderness is the Red Sea. Okay, and what precedes that is freedom from Egypt. So the thing is this, so the Red Sea opened, the Red Sea opened when Moses did his wand, they came across on dry land, and dry land was so that there's no evidence on your feet for what you've been through. But once they came across, instead of them being grateful what God had did for them, they start complaining, saying, we need water, we need bread. So God said, oh, hold on, because you're not loyal and you have not recognized what I've done for you, I'm going to give you just that water and manna, water and bread, because God meets us where we are. We don't meet him where he is. So he'll meet you where you are to help you survive where you are. Had they said, we're grateful for being here, here goes the promised land, God would have given them the tools to maintain the promised land. So where I'm going with this is, it is our own, you said it earlier, human responsibility to cognitively choose where we want to be. Once we identify where we are. Where do you want to be, in the wilderness, or do you want to be in the promised land? You can't get to the promised land using the same war-ready tactics in the wilderness, because the promised land is no war.
That's right.
The promised land is communication, it's respect, it's what we do, it's a sisterhood, it's an empowerment. It's like, got you, what do you need, girl? How do we figure this out? How can I facilitate you? I love where you are, I love it here, I love this for you. The wilderness is, well, we at war. We in
Yes.
competition.
Yes.
I'm more ready. I'm personalizing everything you said.
Yes.
And I'm looking at bears and snakes and everything around here, and you looking just like them. That's the wilderness. So we have to
Yes.
get our people delivered, not dismissed, from the wilderness to a promised land. That doesn't mean it's perfect, but there is harmony there. It's a safe space. There's no judgment there.
How did you do it for yourself? Because I heard you speak very honestly, and I love that about you as well, that you're not afraid to be transparent about your own journey, which I
yeah.
think is very important. That don't mean you got to tell all your business, y'all.
Yeah.
But
No.
it does mean that you can be transparent about pieces of your journey.
100%.
And you shared something when you were doing the interview with Cam Newton about your relationship with your parents, your relationship with your father, and healing yourself through that,
Yeah.
right? And then bringing yourself out of that, right? Even so much so that you sacrificed potential marriages, right? That you could have
Absolutely.
easily gotten into.
Absolutely.
But you knew that wasn't the right thing to do because you were so in tune. Can you tell me a little bit about how you got there?
Oh, yeah. I mean, growing up as a young girl, product of teenage parents, my mom was addicted to the drug that my father was selling, and they were 15 and 16 when they had me. My father went to prison for murder when I was 2. He beat the case, thank God. And when he got out, he was told my mom was selling 8-tracks. Well, it wasn't the 8-tracks.
Yeah.
She was actually, addicted to the drug that he became one of the biggest drug dealers in the game. And so me going through that, I remember having conversations with God going, I don't understand why. Here goes the shame of a motherless girl, because I wasn't fatherless. I was motherless at this time. I don't understand why.
Yes.
Why is she choosing this substance over me? Right?
Yes.
And I remember God, I'm not exaggerating. God said to me clear as a young girl, baby, in order for you to understand, I'd have to allow you to experience it. What do you want? What's your will? What would you like? I said, I'm okay.
I'm okay.
I would just
can go
lean
without
out into
knowing
my own
that.
understanding, and I will trust you in all your ways. And when
Yes.
that happened, magic happened. And when I stopped living life clenching because of my abandonment and my neglect, and I said, you know
Yes.
what, I trust you. And I'm not going to allow anything that I've experienced to rob me of this joy, of this happiness, and of the plans you told me you had for me, God. You said you had plans to prosper me and give me a good life. I'm going to call you on it. I surrender. I'm going to call you on it.
This is
and
powerful.
when I went into that space,
Yes.
I cannot make this up. My father all of a sudden was a family man. He became a longshoreman, and he was no longer dealing dope. My mom became sober after about almost 30 years.
Yes.
My mom became sober. She's the vice president of my company. She
That's
runs
incredible.
our real estate development company. She has her own healthcare company with clients that are disabled that she helps. I'm telling you, I grew up where my mother had never even cooked me breakfast or walked me to school, Judge Lauren. Do you know that my mom cooks me breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day?
I
Do you know
love
that
it.
she brings coffee to my office without me asking?
Limitless
Honey,
possibilities.
this is what, but it took me to let go.
Yes.
And understand there's nothing I did or could do to change this.
Yes.
This is not my battle. And my mother, I said, Mom, I'm ready to tell my story. I said, how do you want me to tell it so you don't look bad? And she said, you know what, baby? This is your testimony. And whatever way you got to tell it for you to heal, you say it. And not only can you say it, but I'll be in the room with you when you tell it, whatever that looks like. A lot of parents don't give that freedom to their kids.
I love when I see that.
They don't.
I love when I see that in my courtroom, when parents will come in and say, yes, I slept with 5 men that month. I don't know which one is your father, but I'm standing here with you. On the flip side, I've seen men stand by and say, I don't know if you are my biological child, or I've just found out that you're not my biological child, and I'm still going to stand by
here
you,
with you.
until you figure out who is. That is so important. But that faith, that surrender, that release,
So much power.
is so powerful. And we all have the power to do that, right?
Yes.
I think we tend to focus on the things we can't change.
Come on.
The things we can't fix. We can't go back and change it because we didn't do it.
And
But-
we hold people hostage.
Yes.
I was holding my mother hostage by holding on to this
Yes.
abandonment thing.
We have to
I was
let that
holding her
go.
hostage. And when I released, I'm telling you, I shifted my perception to what you just said. I focused on what can change. I focused on getting my education. I focused on being the first one to get a college degree in my family. I focused on not being a statistic and not becoming, in all due respect to all the mothers who have kids, but I'm going to go there. I focused on not becoming a baby mama. I focused on making the right decisions and choosing the right guy. And if that meant I stay single up until I'm 30, 40, 45, because I'm taking my time so I don't end up in your courtroom having to do time because I didn't take my time making a decision. Right?
Well,
I'm okay with that.
You went there, and I'm so glad you did, because that was the last thing I wanted to talk to you about briefly. We just have a few minutes left, but I wanted to talk to you about that because, boy, honey, you've been going viral with your high functioning versus low functioning and high. Honey, people been trying to get that math. That math been mathing.
It's been mathing.
Okay, that math's been mathing. But I want to talk to you about that because I do think it's such an important point. And it's an important way to examine who we are and what we're doing. That we associate high earning, right? With whatever this notion of, I think it was Kevin Samuels made that so popular, a high value man, a high value woman. However, we're not thinking about the functionality of that so that you can have $10 million but be low functioning.
Yes.
And I think that's powerful. I would like, before we close, for you to give us a little insight on how do we manage that in relationships? How do we ensure that we don't end up, right, winning a battle but losing the war?
I love that.
Right? How do
that.
we really hone the functionality of who we are, and how do we make sure we are high functioning individuals in our lives and in our relationships? That's the last thing I want you to talk about.
I love that because I have high value people in my office that are low functioning with suicidal ideations. I have high value people in my office who are low functioning, who are deeply depressed, who have anxiety, who cannot function in this world without psychotic medications because they are high value, which means they have a high net worth, they have a high social economic status, but they are low functioning, meaning they cannot regulate their emotions, they cannot have healthy relationships, they are stuck in their trauma, they are stuck in their dysfunction, they are stuck in their stuff. So everywhere they go, they are spitting venom and they are toxic. Okay, but they got the money, they got the socioeconomic status, they got the quality of life when it comes to tangible things, but internally they're dying. So what I call that is a beautiful mansion that is homeless. That's a problem.
And that doesn't mean that everyone isn't valuable. Every person is valuable. You're saying high value in relationship, because I get it, but I want to make sure people get it. As society deems us to be, right? If you're earning more, if you possess more, you're high value. What you're saying is you can be all of those things and be low functioning and bring that into relationships.
Yes, and be unhealthy within yourself. The best thing to be, the most healthiest balance is high value in a hybrid, meaning you're high functioning. You can regulate your emotions, which looks like I have an emotion, I'm angry. Okay, before it gets into feelings, meaning I'm in my feelings, because feelings cause problems, emotions don't. I'm able to decide how I want to respond based on my emotion. So I'm angry, I want to pop this person in the back of their head. Okay, we're not going to do that. Let's communicate why I'm angry and set an effective boundary. That is high functioning. Low functioning means I'm pissed off.
I'm about to go sleep with 3 guys. I'm about to go to sleep with his best friend. I'm about to pay him back what he did to me. I'm about to go out in these streets and she got so much to say. I'm about to go have it with my jump off.
There you go.
I'm about to make
bust
5
this
babies.
window. I'm about to flatten these tires, because now your emotion has gotten in your feelings. And once you're in your feelings, you got a problem. That's what low functioning is. It's really simple. Low functioning means you can't regulate your emotions. Your trauma is showing up and acting out for you. You are going to cause more problems than you had before you even had this emotion and this issue. High functioning is I can identify my emotion. I can then regulate myself and make a clear, conscious decision on what effective message and boundary I want to set, because I want to be able to have an effective relationship with this person regardless of whether we agree or disagree.
And that goes for family. And that goes for relationships with your mate. That if we don't begin to learn how to regulate, identify, right, resolve, right, rebirth ourselves into better versions of ourselves, we will keep being in dysfunctional relationships.
And self-destruction.
Because I love when you talked about the broken home aspect. And I remember writing online about how powerful that was when you spoke for the children, because I think too often we're so self-focused, we forget that what we do, the decisions we make, although we may be able to compartmentalize, even if we evolve out of them, doesn't mean our children do.
I always say
Yes.
we cook it, the children eat it.
Yes.
And that's a problem. We cook it, meaning our decisions, we cooking it, they eat it.
Yes.
And that's why they grow up having to detox from it.
Yes.
Or having to poop what you are cooking.
And,
that's a
and
problem.
you done moved on and gone to the next restaurant and they sitting up there with leftovers.
With no insight and no
Perpetually.
tools, trying to figure this out. Trying to figure it out.
That is a perfect way to end. That's a whole different conversation. Is really the effect on children
Yes.
of the various relationships,
And I want to say this
traumas,
really
and
quick.
decisions. Please
because
do.
this is one question that keeps coming up so much in my DMs. It's, Dr. Bryant, what's the difference between a broken home and a broken family? A broken home is very simple. It consists of a single parent home. Mm-hmm. That can happen as a result of a death, a divorce, a breakup. You never knew the parent, and it can be a single parent female or a single parent male. It doesn't matter. A broken home is a single parent home.
Yes.
A broken family is a two-parent home that is functioning at such a dysfunctional, abusive level that family dynamic is so impaired they can't function at a healthy level.
Yes.
So broken family means the family is in the home.
Yes.
Y'all just dysfunctional to the
Yes.
point where you're impaired.
Yes.
There's no healthiness. There's
Yes.
abuse. There's toxicity. It's not okay. A broken home is a single parent home. And
Yes.
it doesn't make you doomed if you are from a broken home or a broken family or you created that. What it does and it should is make you aware so you can do something about it.
Yes.
We're doing this to bring awareness. We're
Yes.
not doing this to bring judgment.
No.
We are doing this to bring a shift in the community that says, listen, we have to stop creating false narratives
Yes.
to bring logic to your horrible decisions.
Right.
That stops.
And
it ain't gonna happen on my watch.
It's not.
Period.
And
I'm not
we
okay
have
with
to
that.
be able to look in the mirror, right? Each of us. I mean,
Yeah.
when you're talking about a broken home, I'm divorced. But I bust my behind in my co-parenting, right?
Yes.
We both do.
Yes.
Even to the detriment of maybe my dating life, because people are kind of like, well, if you're going to be with him that much, then you might as well be with him. And it's like, because we refuse, right? I don't care how
love
mad
that.
we
I
are.
love that.
We'll fall out on a Tuesday, but by Tuesday night, when it's something dealing with our son, well, where we going? Where are we going to eat? What are we going to do? Because we have made a pact that we will co-parent in a healthy way.
You just described two high-functioning adults who are atoning
Yes.
for what they cooked to make sure that your baby,
That's right.
I don't care how old he is, he's a baby, he's
Yes.
your child, can eat healthy.
Can eat healthy.
See, this is the example of what I'm talking about.
Yes.
It's one thing to do it, but what are you doing about it?
And for him to learn, right,
on.
how to cook, right, a better recipe, right, okay, a better recipe to have a relationship in a family that is not broken.
Yes.
I want to continue this conversation another day because I think
you know, we
this
can go
is
on
so
for hours
We
like we
will
do on the phone.
And just like the phone, honey. But I think this is so powerful,
It
and I
is.
want to get to the children because so much of our work,
Yeah.
right, it's trying to help people heal so that it doesn't affect the children.
Yeah.
And so we'll continue this conversation. I have so enjoyed this time with
This has
you,
been
Dr.
so
Bryant.
good and so needed.
Yes,
So
yes,
good.
yes. I told you guys, the limits were off. You will hear from us again. We're going to continue talking
Absolutely.
and empowering you and empowering ourselves at the same time, right?
Yes.
I love the Zulu phrase, Ubuntu. I am because we are, right?
Yes,
We are
yes.
all interconnected at the end of the day. And if we can figure out how to make this human experience better for one, we make it better
For all.
all.
Absolutely.
All right. Until next
Absolutely.
time.
Thanks,
Dr.
y'all.
Bryant
Thank
and
you
Judge
so
Lauren
much.
Lake signing off.